wow, this is loud and atmospheric. Is it irrelevant? I think it takes place in 2016's election, though. So I don't think it's quite, like, 100% relevant to, like, now. Per se. Your name is Abigail. Your father gave it to you. At least he said he did. That he had argued with your mother over who you would be late into the night. You'd take after them in that way. Your arguments would always be in the evening, you and your girlfriend. About important things, I guess? About important things? Your parents didn't stay together very long. You never knew your mother growing up. There was supposed to be a grandmother too, though, somewhere. Your mother's mother. Does it matter? She was from Rio de Janeiro? Your grandmother came to this country after a war long ago. That is all your father would tell you. Which war he wouldn't say. You asked your father, then he'd come here, and he laughed. He'd laughed. We've always been here, me and mine, he said. We're American. How do you say that, Abigail? Thoreau? Thoreau or Thoreau? I think it's Thoreau. Thoreau? Abigail Thoreau. It is 2016. And you are being followed. A siren wails as you turn off the engine. Red and blue lights dance through the darkness. The cop drives around you, stopping his car right in front of yours as you message your boss to tell him you're going to be late. Tell him where you are. A sun-damaged body lurches in the night, its hand resting along the grip of a gun. Not very Brazilian last name. I think it was from her mother's side. I think that's why she didn't inherit it. Unless it said her dad was, and I just didn't... Yeah, I think it was from her mother's side. Alright, you roll down the window. He's close enough now for you to see him. There's something wrong. Get out of the car, ma'am. Is there a problem, officer? Get out of the car, ma'am, or I will get you out there myself. Damn. I guess I'll comply? Duty says and exit the car. You undo your seatbelt and open the door to the car. He backs up and screams slowly at you and you comply. When you turn the shut door, he barks at you to keep your hands where he can see them. He's sweating and shaking. Jeez. You raise your hands and stay silent. Turn around, he commands, and you do so. You hear his muffled words, the crackle of his radio as he speaks to his supervisor. You've been driving for hours towards the man who's going to bring America back. And you are tired. Your arms feel weak. You try to keep holding your arms up, but you're tired. You've been tired for a long time now. As they fall, the cop behind you screams at you immediately, don't move, and you freeze. He moves over to you and grabs your arm, twisting cuffs around them and digging into your skin. What did I fucking tell you? You feel flecks of spit hit the back of your neck as he cries out. What did I fucking tell you as he pulls you toward his car? You both hear another. A black, expensive, monstrous truck emerges from the night, followed by another police car. Their inhabitants head toward you. You finish telling Glass the story of why you were late, of a mistaken registration plate on a lonely road, of the choices you made when you had no choice at all. And why did this loser try to arrest you in the first place? He bites into his Danish. Everyone is nervous. Truman Glass has to go on stage imminently, but he doesn't seem to care. License plate had been reported stolen. a while back. Hadn't removed it from the system yet. That was all. Glass laughs, shaking his head, and leans a small hand onto your right shoulder. Well, you'll have to do a better job with the next thing we steal. He puts the remnants of his Danish back down on the table and wipes his mouth. How do I look? Or $1 million? $1 million? Or like 5 billion. He doesn't grin. Numerous campaign staffers nervously swarm about him, trying to usher him towards the stage. He swats one away with a brief look and sighs. These guys, they're always rushing me places. People want to see you. It was easier just being on TV. He rubs at the corner of one of his eyes. Does anyone have an aspirin? Aspirin is given. His wish is their command. Time to go on stage, sir. He moves to go, but frustrates a dozen staffers by turning around again a few steps later. He is tired. What was it you said to me that first time we met? I think you're wanted on stage. He shakes his head. This is important. What did you tell me? You said something. There's something important. Said you were right about people. No, not that, his eye twitches. I meant about presidents, about the point of it all. I said a president should represent the people. He smiles at this. Did you ever wonder if you were wrong? Did any of you ever wonder? He's not just tired, there's something else in the wild glint of his eye. There's something wrong. What do you mean? What's the point of being president if there's nothing in it for me? Why shouldn't a president serve himself? You don't really... He laughs at you or with you. It is hard to say. He grins all the same and trots along to his stage, to his people, to his life's work. You wait in the wings and watch him approach his podium, the music settling, the cheers gradually subsiding as he waves and smiles and pauses. You've been working on this speech for weeks. You hope the people enjoy it. Thank you all for being here today, his microphone booms. For coming so far, some of you, right out here to the desert. It's been a long ride, let me tell you. In 2015, I stood at Glass Tower and told you all of you fine people. I told the world that I was going to be president one day. I told the world that we were going to bring America back, that for the first time in a hell of a long time we were going to put America first. And I said something that a lot of the politicians, a lot of the sweating dogs in the media didn't understand. They just didn't. How could there be such a simple solution to the whole mess? That we could just put ordinary, hard-working, decent Americans first. And what did I promise? What did I tell the world I'd do? I said I'd take back— oh. Gosh, okay. At this, the first mention of border restrictions for a month, the crowd goes wild. Their frenzied chant, their cacophony of well-based hymns and prayers, bound to obliterate whatever Glass tries to say next. He smiles, he grins, and he raises his slight hand to calm his supportive orchestra. He speaks, his worn face pivoting a little, the humor evaporating away. And well, here we are. We stand at the edge of America. What is out there, beyond the light of our states? Man, these are a lot of loaded voices. I'll tell you what lies out there. What a rotten world it is, what a joke. Damn. Nations that need protecting with American money, predators and bullies who take our jobs and hack our machines. They're laughing at us. They're laughing because we're no longer what we were. We're no longer what we could be. Throughout my campaign, I've told you all that I will bring America back, but what is America but for people? What needs to be better? But all of you, all of us? So I ask you a question. What can change the nature of an American? Is it the love of country? Is it the greed and hatred of our enemies? Is it our success even? The answer is simple. This whole year it's taught me a lesson. I've taught America a lesson. Music so sinister. This is tagged as horror. It literally says horror on the thing too, on the itch page. So I'm assuming it's not supposed to be like nice. You can change our nature by getting out there and telling my opponent, who should be in jail by the way, telling those Wall Street slums that they don't own this country of ours. That we're going to put America first for a change. We need to stand up for ourselves. His face darkens. America's been shortchanged. Oh gosh, it's getting worse. A nation is just its people, and now America's full of everyone else's people. It's all been mixed up, messed up, and we got to sort this out, folks. We need to get people thinking of ideas. A nation is a family, and our family is under attack. A shout comes piercing through the crowd. You don't know what it says. It's more like a cry than words, like an animal. It's almost a scream. Check the camera. You brace over to the camera controls and staffers already have eyes on the protester. Shaggy brown hair, Christ-like beard, both full of grease, both strewn with the fat of human kindness. Something about the protester disgusts you immediately, even beyond his interruption. You hear Glass's voice boom down from the podium. Get that clown out of here, get him a job. As the crowd begins to shout, begins to agitate, something happens. The protester is doing something, reaching out for something. Raises an American flag, he pulls out a lighter. He ignites the flame. Every television camera in the world, every website links to this fire. Their red, white, and blue burns in the crowd. They swarm towards the man in a fury. Some try to stop what is happening. The fire does not stop. It cannot be stopped. It spreads, catching onto the clothes of those closest to the man, to the flag. The crowd only screams. They only boom their words, their grand chorus of the Republic. Two eternal words reverberate upon the borders of America. Get out. "5 years earlier." Oh, dang, okay. You're 20 years old standing in front of your father, talking to him for the final time. All around, the detritus of his sad life emerged to your vision. The empty beer bottles cluttering the shelves like ornaments, old newspapers stacked in columns beneath the flag of the Confederacy, the gun above the fire. You saw it all, more clearly than you could have ever seen it as a child. It was a temple, a hymn to a dying world. Your father said it then. Knowing he'd respond this way changed nothing, but it still hurt. An inane noise dribbled from the television, and he said it, "Get out." You stand your ground. What the fuck do you think I just said? He's shaking. I don't care what you said. Thought I'd raised you better than this, than to treat me like this, I thought. He smiles a disgusted smile, a pained smile. He quivers, his whole frame stumbling with every word, his shame visible in every breath and every tear. Just go. Your old possessions are already packed up in the trunk of the car or discarded in the trash of this place. You have a scholarship and a girlfriend who loves you. You need nothing. You should never have come back here. And so you say your final words. I hope you live a good life. You won't see me again. You leave his house, his ugly, decrepit shack. 15 minutes driving through the forest paths. Half an hour along the hills and highway until you reach town. You go back to college tomorrow. You'll go back and try to forget what has happened. Try to forget your father. And life will be great again. You flick through the channels in your hotel room, barely able to concentrate. It is the 2011 White House Press Correspondents' Dinner, and Obama stands at the podium. The President of the United States of America speaks. Now I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than Truman Glass. That's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like Did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? But all kidding aside, obviously, we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no seriously, just recently, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Ohama Steaks, and there was a lot of blame to go around. But you, Mr. Glass, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership, and so ultimately, you didn't blame Lil Jon or Meatloaf. You fired Boosie? And these are the kind of decisions that keep me up at night. Well handled, sir, well handled. Watch as a comedian takes the mic as he jokes. Glass has been saying he'll run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke. He watches the crowd laughs. Truman owns the Mistress America pageant, which is great for Republicans because it will streamline their search for vice president. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, there was one section where I could have called him Orange, so I'm pretty sure that's what's implied here. He watches Truman. Glass is humiliated. Glass said recently he's got a great relationship with the Okay. Damn. You watch, the world manifests as it always was, deep in its heart of hearts. You watch as nothing changes. And 4 years later, you get a call. It is 2015. You hear the word for the first time just a few weeks ago. Kleptocracy? A government of thieves, a system of politics reliant upon criminality. America's nearest rival is half a world away. Nations rattle in rage, pretending that they are not conquerors, pretending that the whole world is out to get them. So your father was a Confederate? I guess. I mean, he had the flag in his thing, so, I mean, like, he literally had the flag over the fireplace, like... Yeah. Who puts that over their fireplace? In the cradles of Western civilization, men unleash horror. You head west. As your flight sputters across the continent, you dream of the Republic, of manifest destiny. At the airport, a campaign staffer is waiting for you. Abigail... Thoreau? I guess I'm just gonna pronounce it like that. Scrawled in red all over his sign. Hi, I'm Gary. You go with him to the car. Ready to bring America back, Abby? She smiles, holding the door open for you. Something like that. He opens the door to the car, and after he sits down, he looks at you in the rearview mirror. You shouldn't frown so much. I'm just tired. He smiles back at you. You just need some beauty sleep. He drives on without a word for a while. What is it that led you to apply for this job anyway? Gary pauses. I bet your boyfriend wasn't keen for you to come all the way out here. I didn't apply, I was recruited. Wow, he grins. Brains and beauty. He looks at you in the mirror occasionally, but apart from that, the rest of the journey is quiet. You think about the question. You think about why you are here. I wonder how many people you've known throughout your life would be surprised that you support a man like Truman Glass. That you could. It's just a job. That's what you believe anyway. You wouldn't throw him in with the rest of his supporters. He's not the same. You know he has nothing against gay people or against skin different to his own. You know it. He recruited you after all. Your gender, your sexuality, your heritage, they're irrelevant to the business of governments, of this creaking machinery of state. This job is the opportunity of a lifetime, both for you and for the country. You can stop this. You can scale it all back. People should be free to lead their own lives without interference, and if you're part of it, if you're at his side, you can be a positive influence. You suppose some people you've known, some people you've loved, might hate you for taking this position. But the woman opposing Glass isn't much better. You're supposed to support someone like her? You try and think about something else. You finally arrive at the local headquarters. It's a lucky day for you, Gary says. Why? Smiles. I'm taking you out to dinner, he says, and then laughs to himself. Just kidding, just kidding. There's a brief silence as he awkwardly stares at you. The big man himself is arriving later today. Truman's got a meeting here and another rally tomorrow. You enter the building and follow Gary through. I think you're due to do a rotation over the next few days, aren't you? His eyes dart down at your body briefly. Trying out being a call girl on the phones first, right? He sniggers. Let's see. Going to give it all my charm. He says. Well, I'll leave you here then. You head over to the supervisor's desk. A few minutes later, and you're installed at your first station. The computer glaring a few phone numbers at you. See the phone on the cubicle's wall. These aren't even headsets here. The campaign needs money. Glass's personal funds, whatever little he started with, none of it is enough. Dang, could they put the flag any larger in that picture, by the way? The flag is huge. Call your first number. Call your first number and another and another. Oh gosh. As you wait, you look out at the hustle and bustle of the room. Everyone seems cheerful, passionate, committed. Things seem to be going well. The people you speak to have been selected from online databases, you're told. Everything about them, what sites they visit, what information they've shared, and what things they've bought, fed into a system that shows you who can be targeted and persuaded. It is a system that works. People won't admit it, but they like him. The day continues on in much the same way. You gradually lose the will to live, of course, but you wanted this. See how each component of his campaign is run. See what people around America thought, and they sure thought a lot of different things. You speak to a veteran who lost his job, who lost his home briefly, but even now struggles to earn a living in a small town. The dinner. Do not trust him, he invited you. Dang. Well, maybe the dinner is later, I don't know. But either way, she's already in a relationship, so I don't think she'd really want to be going out to dinner with, like, a guy, so... He tells you everyone gave up on them. Everyone. It doesn't matter whatever un-PC stuff Glass might say, at least he still gives a shit. You listen to him for a while, and to others. Common myth has taken root among the media and public, that only the distant forgotten masses support Glass, only those seeking a promised land of economic renewal, and men and women who just look like us. Look just like us. But plenty of people crave change, even if they don't understand what they're asking for. You're somewhere between a salesperson and an agony aunt, speaking to a horde of housewives and millennials, each with entire worlds within their eyes and hearts. You dial again. Gary's laughing way too much at someone's joke, or perhaps his own. You dislike him deeply. Someone answers the call. Who is this? Hello, sir. I'm phoning from Truman Glass's campaign. And? Have you decided who you're supporting in 2016? Not yet. Would you like me to tell you more about Glass? No need, miss. I won't be voting for him. I thought you were undecided. I haven't decided yet if I'm voting at all, but I know I'm not voting for Truman Glass. Why? My friends, he says, even more gruffly than before. The people he wants gone or hurt or worse. Many of those people are my friends, miss. Now, I don't much like who he's up against either, but I've got too many people I'd never be able to look in the eye again knowing I'd voted for Glass. You thank the man and are about to try to end the call when he speaks again. His voice grown strange and tired. You ever think about your friends, he asks? What do you mean? Your friends who might be affected by all this if you get what you want. He pauses. If you don't have any, perhaps consider why that might be. You thank him again and end the call. You finish at around 10 p.m. You wish this hadn't been your final call. The way the man spoke to you, the tenor of his voice, it upset you, even if he was polite for the most part. Try not to think about it. You wonder whether you should go home and get some sleep, or if you even could in this new time zone. Even though you're wide awake, you're still not right in your mind. And so you don't notice the man who enters the office. Not at first. Him. You're not sure if he realizes you're there. The room is so dark. He fumbles for some aspirin and necks it down, seemingly struggling for breath a little afterwards. You stay silent. So you're not going to introduce yourself then? You get up immediately. Mr. Glass, you say, and then he turns to look at you as you stand. I'm Abigail Thoreau. I'm sorry, that name gets me, just all those vowels at the end is just, I'm gonna call her Abigail, I can't. I know who you are, he says, quiet and cold. He smiles after a moment, unexpectedly and joyously. Tell me, Abigail, and be honest with me. Be frank. Do you ever feel afraid? Of what? Of people. Who else? Everyone. Everyone is a threat. Don't tell me you don't feel it too. Say it the way I'd say it. I don't know. I think that's how you're supposed to say it, but I keep tripping up on it. Threat. You stay silent. I felt it since the day I was born, Glass says. I told my therapist. I said to him about my fears. I spoke to him and he told me something Freud said. That he said that we were all just animals laughing at each other as we died. That's all we were. What do you think of that? Say, Abigail, French last names are difficult. Yeah, I know, it's interesting. You have a therapist? No, why would I need a therapist? I talked to one a while back. He was one of those clowns for my daughter's parties. Why would I? What are you trying to say to me? Nothing, I misheard you. He continues his train of thought, staring down at the floor for a little bit and then looking up at you. His face tired, angry, fallen. So you don't have to wonder why people are mucked up. Why they're losers, why they cheat and steal and lie and do things they do. They're animals, we're all animals. If you realize that you can make yourself into anything you like, that'd be my advice to a lady like yourself. Do what you want to do. Don't listen to in here. He taps the side of his head. Or even in here, he taps his belly. Just do what you want to do. Maybe you're right about people. I'm glad you see it. You're going to go far in this line of work, he says. You know, my father said I'd amount to nothing, he said, shaking his head with a little chuckle. And here I am, about to be the fucking president. I wonder if that'll be enough. Enough of what? He does not make clear. Once I get it, what's my job going to be? How should I act? What should I do with all that? You know. He taps his head again, his sentiment unfinished. Real questions, Abigail. You should represent them as best you can. Maybe, he says, but maybe not. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I don't want to do what's been done before. Maybe I'll do something new. He smiles. Do you ever have violent thoughts, Abby? With all the lies, all the frauds we're being told? What do you mean? That loser who picked you up from the airport, what was his name? Gary. Well, I think he's still here. He's in his office right now. He smiles and stands up. Walk with me. You follow the leader. Sure enough, there Gary is, chatting away on his phone at a dimly lit desk. Glass asks you to wait a little bit out of sight, and you do so. He grins and knocks on the open door. Bad time? Gary throws his phone down and his arms up in unadulterated joy and surprise. It's you! It's me, Truman says, mimicking Gary's voice. How are things down here? Running a smooth ship? Of course, couldn't be better. No? Glass pauses. Problems? Not at all, our numbers are... You picked up that new girl today, didn't you? Gary blinks. Yep, he says a little nervously. I picked her up from the airport and... What do you think of her, Gary? She's... He pauses. What do you think of her, Mr. Glass? Glass laughs. I asked first. Gary winces. I think she's okay. She seems a little frigid, but... Glass laughs. How so? I tried drugging around with her, but, well, you know what some women are like. I do, Glass smiles. You felt pretty strongly about it, didn't you, son? I did, Gary nods. Strong enough to write an email to your superior and disturb my goddamn day? Glass pauses. Abigail, come over here. You do as he says. This clown, this loser, he wanted you fired. Glass smiles. Maybe if you'd bumped uglies with him or kissed his ass 100 times, he wouldn't have done it. Sir, Gary exclaims in a panic. Mr. Glass, You fired, Gary. Sir, please, this job is all I have. I didn't mean to. Get out, Glass says. Damn. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. You once saw a man set aflame. It wasn't a real one. It was a man of wicker and wood, kindled after a display of fireworks. America has the 4th of July, her Independence Day. Back on your brief trip, back when you had time for vacations, you discovered that once a year, the United Kingdom celebrates the execution of a traitor centuries ago by burning his effigy again and again and again. You think of this as the crowd surges towards the stage, as the mob begins to panic. After the protester had screamed, after he set fire to the American flag, the flames caught and spread in the chaos that followed. Along seating, along banners, along people. It did not spread for too long, but still the crowd scrambled away. Still they stampeded in their fear. The idea had been rooted in the American heart, and there it would grow. That liberals could be violent too. That a flag burner could try to murder a crowd. Never fire people before the elections. Oh. Glass watches them as the sun sets. Security guards have already flocked to the stage to stop the invasion, as Truman's supporters attempt to get to safety from the crush and the swell. You issue commands for police, fire, and ambulance crews to be deployed at all exits, and all gates to be open for orderly processions to pass through. But even as you do, something begins to happen. You see your colleagues staring out at the stage and up at the monitor. You move forward, pushing past the assembled gaping mouth breathers in the wings. Your phone begins to vibrate in your jacket, but you ignore it. You move towards Glass, and as you step onto the stage, you see it. You see what Glass sees. You see how people can be used. There was a momentary hesitation, but it is already too late. Glass steps forward towards the crowd, his guards parting like the sea. The crowd calm a little as they begin to notice what is happening. And then Truman does it. He reaches a hand down with a smile, with a grin, with glistening eyes as he begins to pull a woman up from the ground. It will be considered one of the most iconic photographs of the early 21st century. He doesn't have to finish helping her up. The crowd helps, the guards help, and as they all play their parts, Glass mutters something to the person he rescued, but no one hears it. He eventually sees you, lingering near the side of the stage. His face darkens as he moves towards you. Let's go, he says, without missing a step. He walks a little ahead of you. He hardly looks at you, hardly speaks to you. That was brave of you, sir. He says nothing. You reach the cars. The guard opens the door for Glass. He gets in, but as you move to follow him, the door is shut in front of you. The car drives off without you. You go back to the building to retrieve a few things quickly, shaking a little as you do. Your bag's on your desk where you left it. Dash your iPad inside and leave. Gotta go, nice stream. Okay. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time then. Another driver takes you away. It takes a few minutes to get past the police cordon. Then you're out into the open road. You try to phone Glass, but no answer comes. You put your phone away and tap your fingers on the seat next to you. You look out at the road. After a while, you take a book from your bag. You read a little, guiding your fingers across the worn brown pages of Walden. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, confront only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what I had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover what I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. You think back a year ago to when you first met Truman Glass. You think about what he said, about us all being animals, laughing at each other until we die. You think of the way he fired Gary. Did he do it to look after you, to stick up for you in the face of a creep? Would it even make sense for a man like him who said the sexually harassed things should just quit their jobs? Is that grammar right? No. I don't think that's grammatically right. It doesn't look right. It was the power of being able to destroy him, just like that. Whatever he did, it was nothing to do with you. You have to remember that. You can't trust him. You're almost back to the city. Just 7 days until the election. You look down at the book, at the work of your namesake. Henry. And then, you know, the last name. You flick through and think about your childhood. This is one of the only things you've left. Your better nature, your original self. Your coincidence of a name. Someone who went into the woods to find a new life. You look down and listen. There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil, to one who is striking at the root. And not till we have lost the world do we begin to find ourselves. You were 10. You were moving through the woods with your dog near your side, harassing rabbits and squirrels. Here, boy, come on, Alfie. I don't know, I just like the name Alfie. Alfie doesn't obey, he never obeys. You head into the trees where your dog is slobbering all over your foot of a trunk. Oh, over the foot of a trunk. He looks up at you, panting, pleased with himself. He is a good boy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? You bend down to stroke him and he rushes up to you, bouncing his front paws up to your shoulders and wagging his tail excitedly. You pet your dog. Find yourself leaning down to stroke Alfie as you pass, and he starts wagging his tail happily. You continue down the trail. One of your friends saw a wolf out there, so they said, "You want to go find it?" Said you'd be too chicken, but you're not. You arrive at the brook. The water didn't flow much at that time of the year. You just hop right across and Alfie does the same. You can't find a thing in these woods. Alfie brings you a stick anyway, a big stupid looking stick. You take the stick from him and hold it up in the air. You throw it as far as you can across the trees, but it hits one pretty soon. You're not great at this. Alfie doesn't mind. He never minds. He roots around for it in the grass and comes bounding back with it in no time. You take it from his mouth, place it on the ground, and stroke him, telling him what a good boy he is once again. There were no wolves here, your dad said. He told you not to waste your time. Maybe he's right. Continue on. The world was different then. People were different. Even time was strange. You felt it then as a tangible thing. Each day felt like a meaningful span. Each hour walking beneath those branches. Each moment in that autumn lasted an eternity. You lived more between 5 and 20 than you will ever live. The full span of human emotion, of mistakes, of love. You drink a little water from your pack and start heading back. A little while later you realize you're being followed. It's darker than it was. You pull your backpack over your other shoulder and start walking a little faster. You don't know why you think there's someone here, but you know it. Alfie stops to sniff a pile of leaves. Alfie, we need to go. Your dog looks back at you briefly, but turns again to the leaves. The sun has started to set, its pale fire dancing along the horizon. You hear a twig snap behind you. You turn slowly, shaking, shivering. There's a man standing in the trees. It's hard to see him. Hello? He doesn't say anything. You call Alfie, but he doesn't come. He never obeys. You hear the man's voice in the twilight. Not a smart dog, is it? Who are you? Who are you, he asks. Still just standing there. I'm Abby. He says. Gosh, how loud is that? A little too loud, jeez. Okay. Alfie suddenly barks, looking alert to his right. Before you can say or do anything, he runs off into the woods and you're alone. I don't want any trouble. Good thing I have none then, he says, taking a cigarette from a pack. He lights it, his flame dancing in the growing dark. Start walking away, hoping that Alfie will find you again. But as you move off, you hear it behind you. The man's footsteps, quicker and quicker. Turn, but walk as you do. Walk all the more quickly. He's old like your dad. He's dirty. He has a great big brown beard and a cap, and he's coming towards you smiling. You hear barking, and then he's here. Alfie comes bounding out from the trees, panting and wagging his tail at 1,000,000 miles an hour and leaps up at you. Good boy, Alfie, good boy. There's someone else. There's someone in front of you, coming right towards you, swinging a dead rabbit in their arms. It's a kid, just like you. Hey Dad, she says past you, I got one. She looks at you and grimaces. Who's this? And that's all that comes out of your mouth. You feel a little sick. Just keep staring at her, and you have to stop staring at her. You'll tell the story to a lot of people. The story of how you met. You did chat to her and her awkward dad. You find out they just moved out here. That they're based over near town, but thought they'd come out here to get to know the woods. You find out she lost her mom too, but it wasn't like with yours. She didn't leave. She had cancer. They give you and Alfie a ride home, and you promise you'll see her around in town. You walk up the drive, Alfie running ahead. Front door is open, unlocked. You'll think a lot about this later. Right now you just feel confused about things, about what you're feeling. You enter your home. Dad? He's just sitting there staring at the screen. There's smoke. There's smoke. There's shots of ambulances, of fire trucks, of screaming people. Dad, what is... Alfie heads over to your dad, rubbing his nose against his hand. Not now, he says. Alfie continues, climbing up a little under the chair. You watch your dad hit him. Cry out as Alfie winces and runs off into the room. Then you see it happen out there, hundreds of miles and a few feet away. Someone jumps from a building. Dad? Another one just hit, the presenter says, as the footage repeats from the morning. Something else just hit. A very large plane. The plane has flown into the second tower. Damn. Why does this game have, like, every single traumatic thing I can think of in it? Like, I don't know. You wake up and head to the airport. You didn't sleep well, dreams and memories curdling away the darkness of your lonely hotel. At least his plane didn't leave without you. You're welcomed on board and seated a few rows away from your boss. He doesn't try to talk to you. He doesn't say anything to you. He's too busy talking to his daughter. You break the clouds. Fly up to the sky. Hours fall like dust. It's been a couple of days since the fire. No one talked about the speech you wrote. The one glass half read. The burning flag and the chaos that followed dominated the news cycle. Feels like it's making out to be some apocalypse. Weird. Well, to be fair, 2016, everybody felt like the world was burning. And now here we are 4 years later, and the world's actually burning. So nothing's changed. It is 5 days until the election. The last chance for you to decide who you are. Final debate of the election, the title match. When's she getting there? His voice comes from behind you. You turn to see him standing in the aisle, leaning his little hands on the tops of the seats either side. When is my opponent arriving? I don't know. Why don't you know? He asks. He's shaking a little. I pay you to know. I'll find out as soon as possible. Why don't you already know? You didn't even try. You're so low on energy lately, he grimaces. You need to do better. You screwed the pooch on this one, Abby. You're being unreasonable. What did you just say to me? He stares at you. I told you to back off. He says nothing, just stares. After a few moments, someone approaches. Steward is trying to get past. He smiles awkwardly, nervous, terrified. He turns and grins. After you, miss. And when she passes him, he walks off down the plane without a word. You land. Hours later, you are in a hallway, waiting for class to finish and makeup. The building is underlit and busy. Everywhere, crews hurtle around to prepare for the most anticipated event of the year, whilst negotiating the strictly enforced split between red and blue, Republican and Democrat. A nervous woman approaches you, taking a cigarette from a pack. Got a light? She's British. Probably British. Sorry, I don't smoke. Smiles. It's okay, there'll be someone around here with one I can steal. Shambles down the corridor as you check your phone. After a minute or so, she returns, having found her flame. You find yourself talking to her. So what do you do anyway? She asks. You laugh. What's funny? Seems a little sheepish. I'm a campaign assistant. Ah, she says, pausing. Glass? You nod. Ah, right, she says. Says nothing else for a few more moments. Well, I'm pressed as you can see. This is my first assignment for them, actually. I was a freelancer, but something. She awkwardly pokes the badge dangling from her jacket pocket. Daily bar graph. She pauses again. Don't know if you'll have heard of it over here. No, sorry, I haven't. She blinks. That's to be expected. Finishes her cigarette, ambling over to the trash can to put it out. You were saying something about being a freelancer? Oh, right, yes, she blinks. I'm gonna go get some coffee. Fancy some? Sure. Good, good. You follow her through the corridors. So this is your first assignment? For this paper, anyway. Bet you must be excited to write about glass. I suppose, she laughs nervously, and seems to second-guess herself. Not that there's anything wrong with him, it's all... You sure there's nothing wrong with him? He smiles at this as if he just shared a joke. Make small talk for a while. Other staffers from the campaign pass you both by, one of them lingering a little near the water fountain. You go to get some coffee. It wasn't even really meant to be here, the journalist says. Another writer was supposed to cover this. She scratches her neck. I always feel out of place. On the road a lot of the time, just like you. but on the outside, I guess. Put cream in your coffee. Must be quite the life, she says. Getting to be in all those meetings, getting to see what the powerful see. It's life. What does that mean? Powerful or terrifying? She stares at you for a moment, then quietly, far more confidently than before, tells you to watch your back. You know he's going to fire his manager today? She takes her out at you a little, as if to herself. He throws people away like rubbish. Trash, I guess. Don't get on his shit list. Watch your back, okay? What? A gaggle of squealing tea partiers head past you and you go quiet. The auditorium is starting to be filled. I think that's your cue, she smiles, her old expression returning. It was nice to meet you. You too, she says, and smiles. See you around. You return to Glass's dressing room. He stood in the middle of the crowded room, biting into a filthy burger while a staffer tries to tie his tie for him. He looks ridiculous, but he'll be ready. Ready as he needs to be, anyway. Soon after, the debate is ready to begin. Stationed in the right wing, watching on a screen. Everywhere, everyone trembles. America stands still. And the candidates emerge on stage. None of it matters, of course. You already know how this ends. You've known since you opened that email, since you took that call and hit the campaign trail. You made choices you would always have made. Candidates do not look at each other. They begin. Within 1 minute, voices are raised and they're talking over each other. His opponent tries to be polite and dismissive at the same time. He treats Glass like a lot of people fear they are treated. That the world, for all of its civility, doesn't want them. Screaming Glass shows them who they could be, if they only let go of all that fear. All that struggle to be people who hate themselves. If only they could hate others instead. If only they could smile and laugh and chant and tell the world that they have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be guilty about, nothing to atone for. Then of deference and compromise. An assistant approaches you, tapping you on the shoulder. There's an urgent phone call for you. You go to the hallway, quiet, concrete, free from the din and the noise of the stage. You pick up the phone. Abby, a voice crackles, a familiar voice. How can I help you? You don't recognize me, do you? Thought you'd remember, he says, and coughs a smoker's cough. An old man's cough. Mark? It is a voice. It's a voice you first met 15 years ago walking with your dog in the woods. It's a voice you fled from in fear at first. Terror a gruff, sarcastic asshole can cause in a 10-year-old child. It's the voice that played catch with you. Then had you round to stay whenever your dad wasn't in a condition to look after you. And flew across the nation to visit you and Sarah at college for your 19th birthday. It's the voice of your ex-girlfriend's father. Yep, he says. Can't blame you for not remembering. I guess you meet a lot of people now. You said you were in politics. Never did get that, not for you. It's good to hear from you, but... There's a pause, then a sigh. No other way to put it, and I always did talk straight to you. I'm going to stop now. You want to sit down? What's... He's dead, Abby. Your father's dead. He can't speak. After a moment, he continues. A few weeks back it happened. Cancer of the pancreas. It took this long to get a hold of someone who could get a hold of you. Sarah told me you'd thank him and say you have to go. Abby, I know we haven't been close since things didn't work out with you and Sarah and all, but I have to go. Goodbye, Mark. You hang up. You return to the wings. Fine. You look around you. People are looking at you as if they know. You don't know why, you're fine. Debate ends 15 minutes later. The election was decided long before. You find yourself in the bar that night, nursing a whiskey. You hear her voice at your side. That was eventful, she says. The journalist from earlier. History in the making. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. You say nothing. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. She sits next to you on your right and orders a glass of red wine. She's changed. You notice the dress she's wearing, the way the brown strap curls around her left shoulder. Tell me what happened. I just found out my father died. Places a hand on your arm. Christ, that's horrible. I don't even know how I'd cause this. So sorry. Don't be. We hadn't spoken in a while. Spend the evening sitting there, talking with her about your father a little bit, and then about America and Britain. You like the sound of her voice, the way she smiles, the way she pays attention to you. You like that she's here. When the bar closes, you stand together outside for a while. She's not staying at this hotel. She has to be getting back. You say goodnight, and she kisses you on the cheek. Hugs you, remains there just a moment too long. You go upstairs by yourself. You're tired to empty. No, you're tired and empty. You need to get sleep, and you need to win an election. As you lie in the darkness, you think about your father. Feel no sadness, feel no fear, no loneliness at his passing. Feel only anger. The press was divided, contradictory, miasmic in its post-debate reverie. Certain. Each side claimed victory, that Glass's opponent was regal, dignified, a voice of truth with the credentials and competence to lead the free world, or that she was a criminal, conspirator, a corrupt and greedy pretender to an assumed throne. That Truman himself was a direct and charismatic solution to a simple problem of fading American glory, or that he was a bigot, a racist, a fool who would drag our country into ridicule, and this world into the fires of war and nuclear holocaust. You look out at the road, at the trundling, crumbling Americana spread out in this otherwise empty expanse. It's been the warmest November on record. Either global warming would eradicate the world you know. Its scorch casting the earth into an abyss of water and starvation, or nothing will happen at all and science itself is wrong. How could you know? Oh. Science has been wrong before about so many things. Science tried to cure all that you are, all that you hide, all that you let people see. This game's getting very, very loaded. Very fast. Very loaded, very fast. The terror at the heart of this life, these years on which we tread, which world is true? Either we are a nation of immigrants, of huddled masses yearning to be free, or we are conquerors, not content with wiping out the existing inhabitants of this continent, but mongering the endless war. Either we are Republican or Democrat, right or left, fascist or communist, valiant or weak, wrong or right. Either or. The world doesn't allow you to be anything else. What space is there for complexity? What room for judgment in your heart? What citizen born so profoundly unlucky as to find themselves in a democracy has the minutes to learn the economy, science, the facts to make an educated choice, the hole at the heart of everything, the festering and silent nightmare, that all votes are off, that all elections are thefts, mere flight shows designed to dazzle and ensnare. No one can remain free in this world. Either you support Glass or you don't. Either you're playing a game... Gosh, how do you pronounce that? Dilettante. But I've literally never seen that word in my life. What the heck? I've never seen that word in my life. Building a resume through the election of the unelectable, or you have regrets. Either you're a true believer or you're damned. I've never seen that word in my life. What the heck? You don't believe a fucking thing. But what do thoughts matter? You go to sleep. There are no dreams. Wake up and for a perfect moment, you don't know where you are. Still light. Word of the day. Exactly. It's still light, you're in the car. You don't recognize this as part of the planned route. There are trees, woodland, shallow dry stream runs parallel to the road. Glasses motorcade is still ahead. Driver, where are we going? Shrugs. Mr. Glasses people said we had to take a detour. Then you see the sign. It's your hometown. You're going back home. Say nothing. Pull up past Main Street. Head's already turning towards the motorcade, the unexpected onslaught. That there are many heads to turn. The town had been dying, even back when you were young. Stop. Driver gets out and opens the door. Glasses already out ahead of you, smiling a half smile across 100 feet. You walk to him. It's 4 days until America decides. Glass asks you a question. Do you believe in God, Abby? I don't know, you say? He says. I suppose everyone here believes in God, don't they? He looks at the passers-by. A few old men outside a cafe across the street. A woman stopped with her baby. Glass waves at her and she runs away a little before her panic subsides and she thinks to remove her phone for a photograph. You're doubtless caught within its frame. You don't smile. Photograph is taken and she flees again. Why are we here? Just to suffer. Jeez. They told me what happened. And he seems a little upset, a little sympathetic. The kind of face he wears for crowds and television shows. Sorry about your father, Abby. It doesn't explain why we're here. I saw your town was near our route and I thought, he pauses, I thought you could use this. I mean, I had to take the opportunity. It was even red text, come on. It's my thought playing this game. That's very kind. Have you read the news this morning, he asks. No. Oh, he says. After a moment, he turns to look ahead. Walk with me, he says. You follow the leader. What was this place like growing up, he asks, looking around at the dusty buildings, the worn shop fronts. It was my home. He looks up at the winter sun and then further down the street. A middle-aged man in a checkered red shirt loading bags of cattle feed at the back of his rusted pickup truck. He looks to the side at you both occasionally as you walk towards him, but doesn't seem very interested. Everyone in this town probably has guns, don't they? Glass asks. They probably love them more than they love their own kids. You don't know them. He ignores you. He even seems to smile at you for simply saying this. As if he knew you would. You see, I was raised in New York. The only people who have guns there are cops or black people. Who... Okay. Okay. It's a way of life. You come to the edge of town. What little of it there is. The feeling you used to have as you walked with him. People saw you and saw him and placed you within their minds as part of this grand adventure. This wild ride. It used to be the greatest feeling of your life. What drug could compare to that? For good or ill, who gets to do something in this life that matters? Who gets to be noticed? Who gets to be accepted? But feelings fade, everything falls away. You're not fine. I want to see where you grew up. Show me. You go up towards the woods, and the man who would steal America follows. Anytime something's political, I can get to you'll find a lot of questionable, uncomfortable moments, yeah. Gosh. Political things are always, like, so loaded. And it's like, There are guards following a short distance behind, but the rest of the circus remains with the cars. You walked here when you were 10, your dog at your side, harassing rabbits and squirrels. Far is it? Glass asks. Not far. Nothing has changed. And everything has. The trees are trees, and the sun is darker. You walked here when you were 10, and you looked for wolves. But you're grown now. There are no wolves, but a man. How about the boys, he asks. I'll admit this one seems to be exaggerated. Yeah, that's the point. It's supposed to remind you that the world was burning. Excuse me? The ones in town, they must have loved you, he looks at you. You remind me a lot of my daughter. Fierce, beautiful, attractive. The boys here, they must have loved you growing up. I don't know about that. But you do know. You prefer girls, don't you? You look at a tree and wonder how many of them Alfie brushed past. How many times he called your dog. How many times he fled after him. Might as well be honest. What have I got to lose? Yes, you pause. How did you find out? Does it matter? He stares. After a moment, his stony face breaks into a big red grin. But who cares about something like that? You walk on a little bit and he speaks again. You know, all these people that work for me, I feel like you're different from them, Abby. He started to walk more slowly. You can see the dim shape of the shack a few minutes away. I feel like you and me, we could be together for a long time. He smiles, thick as thieves. Who knows what will happen? Stops suddenly and turns back to you. His grin has vanished. Do you know what it means to betray a president? He's shaking a little, stuttering a little. You know what they call... Do you know what they call that crime? Do you know what punishment is? The world's always burning. Yeah. Times worse than others, though. You know what the punishment is? You say nothing. You spoke with someone at the debate, didn't you? He does not smile. He does not laugh. He does not joke. He does not make a stupid comment. The mask has fallen and nothing else remains. I didn't believe in them when they told me. Not my Abby, I said. Not my girl. She'd never let me down. He blinks. She'd never betray me. Not now. Oh no. You think if I let her up into my room and slept with her, she wouldn't have snitched? Probably. I speak to a lot of people. Who do you mean? The journalist, he says. I mean the goddamn journalist. He spits as he speaks. You know what happened to Gary? You know where he works now? He can't work. Well, he won't. He writes me letters, though. His grin bares teeth. Begging like a fucking dog. Sometimes I joke around with them. Those who let me down. Those who want me back. Those who can't bear the life I plucked from them. That shitty thing they thought could compare to me. He stresses the final word. Sit, Gary. Fetch, Gary. Roll over, Gary. Sit, Abby. Beg, Abigail. You say nothing. I said beg. How do you beg? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have. How could you be so stupid? I thought you were more than just a pair of tits and legs. Oof. I thought something of you, he pauses. Maybe we can fix this. He walks over, squares up to you, close enough to touch. Feel his spittle hit your face as he speaks through his teeth. First, let me make something absolutely clear. If you walk out on me, you're done. You don't have a choice about this. You're not Abby anymore if you give up on me. You're some tramp who fucked up a presidential campaign. What bozo would hire someone like that? You say anything to absolutely anyone, you're worse than fucking done. You'll find out what it's like for me to not be so nice. An army of lawyers versus a dyke like you? How do you think that'd go? I've got nothing to lose. He says nothing, just stares at you, looks you in the eyes, just 6 inches from your face, and after a moment he staggers back a little and just laughs his terrible laugh. When I first met you, you said I was right about people, that they were threats, that we were just animals laughing at each other as we died. He shakes his head and turns. He approaches the door of your childhood home. He speaks with his back to you. I think of you, he says, and I know it's true. You enter your home. It is empty. That is what strikes you first. More empty than when your mother was still living here and things were still tidy, were still clean. And it is silent. No television. No Alfie, but he has been dead for a long time now. You don't have any friends left. You made your choices. What did you even want to be when you grew up? A rock star. What happened to that? To any of it? The dinosaurs are around there, something happening. Yeah. It's all just up to our own, like, perception of, like, the severity of how bad things are, I guess. Yeah. You tried but failed. What happened to your life? You wanted to be noticed. Is this what you want for yourself? Is it what you thought it would be? No. Glass is standing in your old living room, looking at the flag across the mantel. The room is deserted, ransacked. You don't know whether this happened when your father was alive or dead. You don't know any of what happened. Your inheritance is a decayed shack, an old flag of the Confederacy, and a broken picture frame a little away from Glass's expensive shoes, his small feet. He pulls the flag from the wall and it comes down with little difficulty. He holds it, staring at it. It's dust falling onto his suit. Say nothing. Was this always here, he asks? Living is easy with closed eyes. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot easier to just not look at the world burning and just pretend it's fine. But then we don't exactly solve any problems at that point. My dad put it up after my mom left. He hated what you were, didn't he? Some small part of you, some small part of him. He stares at you. The small, small man. He waits for some kind of reaction. I know what people think of me. I know how people can jump to conclusions, but I don't hate anyone. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm just not. He sniffs at the old flag and throws it over his shoulder like a towel. Then he turns to you. I'm gonna make you a deal, he says. You're no longer going to be working on the campaign. You're going to be on the outside. I'm gonna tell them it's because of your poor dad. I'm gonna tell them you got too emotional. And just look at you. They'll understand it. You stay silent. I'm gonna give you that lie. That you can rebuild some semblance of a career. That you can have an opportunity to prove yourself to me and be mine again. You're gonna smile your pretty little smile. You want to bend over and take this, or I'll bury you so deep in lawsuits and lies that you'll wish you were back here again with me on your knees. Ignorance is bliss. Getting older was scary. Yeah. The world was a lot better when we were kids. And I got excited for like the Thursday like chicken nugget day at school. That's when I got excited. There are sounds outside. Cars, people. Here they are, right on time. He places a hand on your shoulder. Time for your close-up, Abby. He walks towards the door, taking the flag with him. It turns just as he touches the handle. And what I was saying before about treason, about traitors being punished, don't worry about it. He laughs. I'm not president yet. The world wasn't better. I know. I know it wasn't technically better, it's just how you perceive things. Don't worry, we'll get there together. We'll see, he says, we'll see. He opens the door, his grimace turning to a grin immediately as he greets his adoring flock. You follow. You look out at the media, the cameras and microphones, at the frame that holds America. You look at trimming glass as he holds your father's flag, aloft over 36 television channels. What's the matter with a little history, a little pride in who we are? And who all of us are. All of us a house united in the face of them, in the face of those who want to tear this nation down, who want to push our faces into the dirt. It's us or them. It's our world or theirs, and I don't know about you, but I'm not ready to give up on America yet. He smiles, staring right into every pair of eyes on the planet. Believe me. When it's why people enjoy nostalgia. I mean, yeah. I like watching, like, Disney sing-alongs when I get sad. That stuff, like, helps. And then he calls your name. Abby. Abby, come here. Stand beside me. Stand beside him. This girl, my dear, dear girl, she worked for my campaign for a good long year. It's hard to find jobs in America at the moment. Too hard for smart, decent people. And I think she's made the most of the opportunity we've given her. I really do. She's been the kind of good woman America needs. She doesn't whine like a loser. I know, sometimes there are things that were better than now. Yeah. She doesn't ask what her country can do for her. Says, she takes what she wants like America should, like we all should. We're tired of being bullied, being beaten down, of our jobs being taken, our way of life being taken, and... He pauses, as if upset. And we need to remember the lives of those who were beaten too far. It's my regret to tell you that this girl's father, this honest daughter of a great nation, was taken from us a few weeks ago. I wanted to talk about what this flag meant to him, what America meant to him, how he worked hard his whole life for his family, for his nation, but his nation, his presidents, they let him down. I wanted to, but it's not for me to say. It's for Abby. Abby, can you tell us? My father, you start. I press shuffle, but otherwise they're silent. 100,000 people watch you from their homes. My father wasn't perfect. He was a lot of things, but yeah, perfect wasn't one of them. He was just a normal dad. And to me, to every little girl. That means he was the best dad in the world. You find yourself walking off, leaving, ignoring the press, ignoring him. All the cameras flash at you. Abby, it's okay, he says. Hear his voice floating through the air past the sound of the press swarming you, of the questions. She's just emotional. She just lost her father. You You push past the guards to the cars. They don't move out of your way, but they don't stop you either. You ignore the staffers rushing up to you, pleading for you to go back. You go back to the car and you shut the door. It is nightfall before the motorcade moves on. You're left alone. You don't know why. You don't know what's happening. You stare out into the woods, wondering what those ancient trees would think of you now. Glass does not message you, or try to speak to you, or even walk past before you all leave. The consequences communicated to you sent by another. The world has seen you now. For one brief moment, you had its attention, standing in front of the ruins of your childhood home, sitting next to Glass. Damn. You no longer work for the campaign. The email reminds you of your legal obligations. It thanks you for helping bring America back. You tell the future chief of staff you are thankful for the opportunity. You sit and stare through the darkness. Glass doesn't care that his campaign is a wreck, that it's a wildfire, that nothing is what it was meant to be. Nothing is what you thought. He doesn't care about policies. He doesn't care about facts. He doesn't care about the consequences of any of this. He doesn't care that he's betrayed you. It's all about him and how he feels. Power, hatred, fear. That's all there seems to be. You look out into the dark. You look out at stars that died long ago. You are alone, but for a driver who does not turn around. You head east. You look at the news on your phone. Photos, videos of you walking away, of you crying. Sympathetic, fatherly Glass watching you go, holding his flag like a fallen hero. You search for articles about yourself. The attack operation has not begun yet, but you know it will. It doesn't even matter what you've done. It doesn't matter who you are or what you said. I just want someone to fight. You made your choices. Either you supported Truman Glass or you didn't. Either you came to seeking the election of the unelectable or you have regrets. Either you were a true believer or you were damned. The world didn't need you to be anything else. Miles fall away. You fall asleep. You leave home. You go home. A long way away from the place where you grew up, there's a house. You've never been to this house. You will never go. You will never see what happens here. Outside, there are Christmas lights on the tree in the yard. Early, even for this house. In the kitchen, there is dog shit. Nice. An automated vacuum cleaner whirs towards it. Back and forth across the otherwise immaculate floor. In the lounge, a mother sits with a pile of papers and her laptop. Fox News blaring as the sun sets. She does her taxes. Her husband had been supposed to handle them instead. He always handled them. Her husband, who was now somewhere out in the city. Her husband, who had moved out 2 weeks ago. In the attic, in her son's bedroom, videos play as he unpacks his books from school. He has a paper to write for English. The video finishes. Suggestions appear as to which video you might click on next. Ooh. Watch out, he's got wasps. The boy puts on the video. 3 streamers run across a field, and another streamer follows him with a giant jar of wasps. Towards the end of the video, he throws it at them and the glass shatters, the others screaming and running away laughing. It is unclear if anyone is stung. Underneath there is a comment about someone wanting to throw that jar at the face of a congresswoman. The boy clicks like. The video finishes. Suggestions appear. Danger goose in the desert. The video shows a man eat a mouse whole, alive and squirming around a campfire in the desert. The shot cuts away when the act happens. The comment section includes a debate on whether the whole thing has been faked. The video has been flagged for sensitive content, but you can still watch it if you click through. Underneath, the boy laughs at a gift someone linked. He thinks of posting one of his own. The video finishes. Another. 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 In the kitchen, the automated vacuum cleaner finally reaches the dog shit and begins to smear it around the floor. It was not built to cope. The woman in the lounge continues to finish her taxes. Television talks about Truman Glass. There are now 12 accusers. Upstairs, the boy continues with his videos. He watches someone get their head cut off. He watches the police raid a house and shoot the animal inside. He wants to write his own comment. He wants to make something. He just doesn't know what. He just wants to laugh. When at last he goes downstairs for dinner, his mother's screaming at the vacuum cleaner. In the lounge, the news is still on. He sees all those people claim things. He sees all those liars. Frauds. Communists. Oh. What is this? He sees himself as he could have been. When he goes to sleep that night, he considers messaging his father, but does not. He tells himself that if he did, he would get a response. He'd be taken away from all this. The world would be made right. He does not message. He goes to sleep. Outside, the street is quiet. A cat prowls along a wall. A man hurries home from work, desperate not to be stopped in this area. And a woman is driven in a car back to her apartment, back from a world away. Back from the boy's hero. A man he will never meet. A man who has changed his life. Made him feel right with who he is. And wrong with who he was going to be. In the car outside, the woman hasn't really woken at all. She was never asleep. She just let the car take her along, watching the world pass. It was better than being outside looking in. Continue on. It is hours until you are back. Those hours pass. You reach your destination. You get out. You stand in Manhattan. For better or for worse, you're finally home. A few days later, you wake up. Something is wrong, but you do not know it yet. You do not check your phone. You do not read the 100 emails in your inbox. You do not see the videos. You do not see how, even now on the news, they're talking about you. How there are photos of you sitting with a journalist in a bar, talking, sorting with the enemy. You don't know any of this. It is election day. There are dozens of accusations flying around, more than enough to maintain the media's attention. And there you are, one of many. Just go to the polls, wearing a red baseball cap. Your father gave it to you, his final gift. You vote along with 55.5% of the rest of the country. You vote for the Democrat. And just like that, it's over. Gone. A split-second conclusion to your life's work. If you hadn't been exiled from Glass's side, you'd be out there now, standing next to him at some photo op with your team. With your guys. I have work in the morning. Oh no, it's about to be over. I think. But, good night. If you hadn't been exiled from Glass's side, you would have been out there now. Okay. It would have been over either way. You go back home not knowing how people are manipulating images of your face and a dozen other faces even now. How new videos have been made, programs trained to copy your every mannerism and insert them into actions and situations you've never been a part of. I don't know how the manages You do not know how the messages threaten to rape you, how they say they'll kill you, how they'll have photos of you even as you walk. On the news, you're accused of leaking a trove of your own party's emails. You're accused of being a plant for the opponent. You're accused of hating your country. 11th chapter. Is there? How many chapters are there? Heck if I know. I'm still going. I don't know. Oh. Well. Guess I'll tell you later. Still haven't learned your lesson. You head home, knowing none of this. Head home and wonder whether you'll go to the reception this evening. You're still invited. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe you'll go. Maybe you'll spite him by accepting. You don't know. You get changed, leaving your phone on the counter. You grab your shoes and go out for a run. You wear sunglasses. No one will recognize you. The day is bright. 100 miles away, a man gets into a car. He has a loaded gun concealed beneath his coat. You continue running. You pass a police car, its owner standing to one side and munching on some pretzels. One of them grins and whistles at you. His partner glares at him. Poison. Stop at a store for some water. While you wait in line, you see a wildfire spread across the hills. It is on a silent television behind the counter. You pay for your water and leave the store. Outside, you see the newspapers. The smiling face of a Democrat covers most, assumed victor from most publications. Only a few have glass. One of them shows the photo, a little after you delivered your speech. A little after a protester had set fire to a flag and a panic had begun. Glass had helped a woman up from the ground. It was a calculated move, nothing more. What did you do in that moment? What was your first thought at the response to seeing the fire spread before your eyes? Your first thought was for the crowd, for the people who might be hurt. Are you better than him? Are you someone who cares about human life, or were you more concerned about the press attention? There was a disaster at a rally. You don't know. You drink some water and start running again. 80 miles away, a man stops to bar for some coffee. He likes the feeling of his gun against his heart. He looks at his phone. Busy day. Less than a minute and he's on the road again. You continue running. You enter the park. The dog trots past you chasing a stick. Did you ever think about getting another one in the years since Alfie died? You thought about it. But you're too busy for pets. You had the best dog in the world. He was a good boy. Each day feels like nothing at all. Each hour feels like moments. You no longer feel minutes at all. You feel like you could die any second. Even if you lived to be 100, it would feel like nothing at all. You go home. It's getting darker. Only a few hours until the event. Shower. You shave your legs. You look at your wardrobe. You dress nicely. That will show him. Fuck him for abandoning you. Couple of hours to go. Finish the bottle of water. Switch on your computer. You ignore everything. You know, even then, what it all means. The notifications, the friend requests, the messages. But you refuse to live in that world yet. You've been refusing to live your choices for some time. Stare and study her profile on Facebook, as you often do. Sarah seems happy. She's smiling on the profile photos. Whenever they change, or looking sarcastic at worst, making a stupid face. You can't see anything else. There's her profile details hidden away apart from her current main photo. Stare at her. The man with the gun is in Manhattan now, not far from your home. He enters glass tower with a gun. You add Sarah on Facebook. You almost undo the request. This isn't you. This isn't the action of Abby, but of another person, of another world, not yours. You leave the request and close the laptop with a harsh snap. The buzzer rings, startling you. Cab is here. You haven't had the stomach to check the vote counting. You can't bear it. A year ago, you wondered what people thought of you for supporting Glass, taking his job. Why is this option here twice? You didn't know what would happen. The choices, the pain, the lies, the betrayals. 2016 is almost over now. The day is almost at an end. You look at your phone. The first message you see is sent from a teenager at his computer. It is an image of your head being cut off. Only a few minutes later and you're at the reception trying to smile at strangers. You go towards the side door. Still got your pass. You don't want to step out in front of the cameras. You read some more of the messages. Switch off your phone quietly, your heart slow. Body lurches in the night, its hand stroking the grip of a gun. It sees you. As you open the door to the building, it recognizes you. It knows there's something wrong with America. This rot, its cancer has metastasized. And it knew it needed to do something. You enter the building. A few minutes later, the man with the gun follows. You spend the night by yourself, mostly. A lot of people stare at you. You're their final sacrifice to the people, the final enemy to be raised up and defeated. The one who betrayed them, the one who should never have been there. Their last shield. When they win, there'll be no more. It won't be the end. It will never end. It is late. The election results are displayed throughout the evening, bearing either side of 50%, much closer than anyone predicted. And a man walks towards Glass, a gun underneath his jacket. The yellow coat has been shed. Fits in now in his suit. Spent a great deal on this suit. He was chosen for this a long time ago. In another world, someone pulls out a gun and fires it at Glass, shattering his chance at the presidency, destroying the dreams of half the nation for better or worse. But this is a new world. His guns remain holstered, though he is intensely aware of the power he holds over history, even in deciding to keep it there. He has a right to carry it, of course. He has a permit. He has God. It's in the Constitution. He saw himself on the news again this morning. A video of the rally. The one with the fire. You watch Glass and the man watches Glass. This time, the next president of the United States of America is... Years ago, the sun shines on America. You're in college. You drive out to the river. The day is long and hot. Ice cream carts and corn dogs line the park. The smell of chowder drifting on the wind. Distant acquaintances sit over by the riverbank with their beers. You're out with your girlfriend. You've known each other for almost your whole life, ever since that day in the woods so long ago, walking your dog, fleeing from a stranger. You and this woman you love, you've hired a boat together. You're going down the river. Forgot you were going to be doing any of this, but here you are. You want the oars? She asks. Sarah's voice is quiet. She's always quiet for days after arguments. She couldn't let things go quickly. She couldn't see the damage of an argument completed. She couldn't see why you let words hang in the air. Why you try to joke or laugh or change subjects. She can't see you. Yes? Pauses. I think I should have the oars. You look tired. She waits to see if you'll say anything back. You don't. Start to move through the water. You continue on in the silence. It is peaceful. You start to feel a little warmer. You don't know if it's emotional or if it's just that UV light is burning your skin. You don't know. Sarah's ring catches the sun, drawing your eye to it. You look out alone for it. You took out alone for it. You knew she would have preferred something nicer, but this was all you could manage. She's going to get you an engagement ring of your own soon. Or that's the plan anyway. So she told you was the plan. You're just waiting for the right time. That's what she said. You wondered briefly if she meant something by that. If it was a criticism of how you proposed to her. Maybe you should have waited. Wondered briefly if today is the day she's going to give you that ring. But after the things you said to each other in the night. You doubt it somehow. You do nothing. Birds fly above and around in the thick trees, and their reflection dances on the dark water. The water itself is not safe to swim in. People do anyway. There are no fish here anymore, not really. A frog came right up to your window once. I live in a basement apartment. You hoped it'd swim again. She glares at you. What's the point of even coming out if we aren't going to talk? Sarah's angry, and so she shrinks back. Tremulous, like she's on the verge of tears. That's how she expresses difficult emotion. Sometimes you find this cute, sometimes it feels weak, almost pathetic, and you know you shouldn't feel this way, but you do. You'd rather she do anything to show she knows you, but nothing. Nothing but this quiet with the person you love most in the world, the only one. What was it like seeing her? She asks. Say nothing. What's your mom like? You find yourself silent. Just watch the water as it passes. Found your mom a month ago. Lives only an hour's drive away from your college. A miracle, Sarah said. It's meant to be. That's so lucky, Sarah said. Sarah talked and talked about how she wishes she could see her own mom again. You feel as if Sarah's weaponizing the continued existence of the woman who abandoned you. You still feel it. You watched her outside, her new family, her friends. She was an artist once, back before you were born. That's how they met. Father had bought one of her paintings. Had it put above the fireplace of his cabin of the home in which you would grow. It was, she told you, a self-portrait. It was her. What did he replace it with, she asked. What did he make room for? You look up, you aren't with your mom anymore. You're on a boat. Sarah's been saying something. She stares at you like you're ill. Are we going to invite her to the wedding? Do you think? Sarah asks. She's not my kind of... She can't be worse than your dad, Sarah says. Time passes as you go down that river, as the sun drifts behind long clouds and out again, brighter than before. It is burning you. Sure, it is burning you. She goes on and on about her own awful relatives. How one of them believes the earth is flat. The other believes that Obama isn't really American. That vaccines... I don't like talking about politics, you say. You walk on. Years pass as you walk. Years pass. It is 2017. You think all the time about that boat ride. You think about Sarah, about your mother, about your father. You invited your mom to a wedding that never happened. Father, learning of the betrayal that you had the audacity to imply that he was not enough, and never spoke to you again. You never spoke to either of them again after Sarah. That ended too. It all ended. Nothing lasts. Nothing stays what it was. You drive to see him. He has invited you. You drive to see Truman Glass, the 45th President of the United States of America. You stand outside Glass Tower. The first time you came here, you met his family. You hadn't expected to, but a few of them were here anyway. His wife was nice enough. His son seemed a little slow. His daughter seemed sharper. She was just like the rest of them. At least they didn't hide it. In the final weeks of the 2016 campaign, She was barely there. She campaigned a little, but not with you, not with her father. I wondered how they got on sometimes. Hardly anyone ever mentioned it, but she'd been best friends with a Democratic candidate's daughter. She'd seemed progressive as much as someone like her could have been. She couldn't handle the pressure. Look up at it. Glass glowing in a garish red, a nightmarish monstrosity in the heart of New York, teetering, diminishing the world with his presence. Winter. The short elevator ride up to the tall building, ears popping with a rapid ascent. And then you're there. Glass's office is at the end of the hall. Or at least you assume it still is. Secret Servicemen outside are a clue. You go through. And there he is, sitting behind his wide wooden desk like a drawing of a businessman, like a politician out of a movie. The entire wall of his back, at his back, is just a window from floor to ceiling, the New York skyline running at a vast horizontal. He comes here more and more these days, or so the press says. Comes here to be alone. Hello, Abigail, he pauses. He does not smile. Take a seat. You sit down. Why am I here? I was just thinking about old friends. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay between us. No hard feelings. You stare at him. Did I ever tell you what happened to me a few years back, before I even thought of running for office? He pauses. A lot of people said I might, but I still wasn't sure. Wasn't sure I needed it. He gets up from his chair and starts walking over to his window, looking out over New York. He has his back to you. It was 6 years ago, 10 years after this great city of mine was attacked. He doesn't say anything for a moment. I went to that dinner as a guest, the welcomed guest of Obama, whatever our differences. I went and I was humiliated. He turns to you. Do you have any idea what it's like to be mocked that way? I know empathy doesn't come easy to you, Abby, but try to think. He made me into a joke. He made me into a laughing stock. What does this have to do with me? It was at that rally before that fire. We were sitting backstage and you just told me some story about being stopped by a cop in the middle of the night or something. I don't know. Then right before I had to go on, right before I had to give the speech of my career, you said it to me. What did I say? You said I looked like $1 million. You did look like $1 million. See, he says, you're doing it even now. Undermining my confidence. Trying to get under my skin. I'm not a joke, Abby. I'm not stupid. You know I was worth more than that. Oh. And I'd built myself up from nothing. That my doubts isn't able to go on. All of this because I said you looked like $1 million? It was what it said about you. He stares at you. It was what it told me about the person you are. In here. He beats a hand against his heart. I don't let anyone talk to me like that. I don't want anyone making me feel that way about myself. I'm a winner. You look at him. You think about all you did, knowing who he was. All you did, hating the world so you didn't have to hate yourself. You threw me away for no reason at all. He just stares at you. He seems small to you then. He stands behind his wide desk beneath his tall ceiling before his giant window. And he looks like the smallest man in the world. Anyone could have done what he did. The kindling was there, the wood, the coal. It was all just waiting for a match. In your final meeting, he just seems like a fool, like a joke gone wrong. Is he the great psychopath? Is he the enemy of America? Or is he just a small man dreaming of being someone big? Finally speaks, shaking, spitting these two words. Get out. I hope you live a good life. You won't see me again. You leave and he just stares at you as you go, taking at his desk. That's the last time you ever met him. You watch the numbers in the elevator count down. You leave Glass Tower and step out into New York. You check your Facebook, barely able to breathe in the heat. Check your friend request. It is gone. You've tried adding Sarah a lot of times now. Long gaps in between. Messages, sometimes angry, sometimes sweet, sometimes sad. All from you to her with no answer. She hasn't blocked you, she just doesn't answer or add you back. Maybe if you could just show her you could change. Leave it. You leave it. You know who you are. You know who you aren't. You get in your car. You head west. You hit night soon. Only motels stretch out along the highway. Distant cars head towards you like waves on a shore. You don't know where you're going. You don't know when you'll stop. You see a man stopped at the side of the road. You keep going. All across the world they whisper. Tell you that facts cannot be trusted. Tell you that human beings are not human beings. They tell you that only they can save you. They can make the world great again. They can fix everything that is wrong with your life, with your heart, with your soul. You look at yourself in the mirror. You look at yourself and think of all you've done to yourself. The hours pass, the sky grows dark, the roads become empty. You look in the mirror and see lights. A police car, but it passes you. Soon it is a memory. It's 2017. You are Abigail, and you are alone. Dang.